Conservationism is about protection, about keeping our natural resources safe, now and for the future. Hugo Berlanga is that protector. He spent his incredible career protecting Texas, its land, and especially its inhabitants. Berlanga was born in Robstown, Texas, and is the middle child of 7. His love for the outdoors sprouted at an early age while bonding with his father, learning to hunt.
My dad obviously introduced me to the outdoors and bought me my first .22 single shot from Sears. And so every opportunity that we had, he'd always take me out to some of our relatives that had small farms and ranches here in South Texas.
Berlanga began his career of influence at a young age, and at 26 years old was elected as a state representative to the Texas House of Representatives for the 34th District. At that time, he was among the youngest legislators to ever be elected.
I ran in 1976, and my first year in the legislature was 1977. And it was memorable for a couple of reasons. Number one, 10 years prior to that, I was taking a summer course in civics at Ray High School, and we had a field trip to the state capitol. And that was the first time I'd ever been in that capitol. I was 17 years old, and then we toured not only the capitol, got to see the House chambers. I had no idea that all of a sudden, 10 years later, I would find myself on that incredible august body, and but it happened.
When I hear the name Hugo Berlanga, first is a good friend, and next is a hard worker, great conservationist. As I always say, a man of all seasons. He's a remarkable person.
Former Speaker of the Texas House of Representatives, Gib Lewis, appointed Berlanga his Speaker pro tempore quickly upon his election, making Berlanga the first Hispanic House member with this title. They went on to pass influential legislation together that helped conserve the population of wildlife across Texas.
I know when he and I both was in the legislature, I had appointed him Speaker pro tem, and the reason I did is, a lot of people, when they run for public office, when they campaign, they say, I want to go to Austin and represent you. Well, Hugo actually went to Austin and represented his constituents here in his legislative district, and he was dependable. Every time I asked him to do a job, he did it and did it completely, and he was one of the members that you wish you had 150 of.
In 1983, Berlanga authored the Uniform Wildlife Regulatory Act, empowering Texas Parks and Wildlife to implement consistent regulations across every wildlife resource in the state.
Every county in Texas had their own wildlife regulations. And so Gib, through other organizations and whatnot, saw that there was a need, that Parks and Wildlife needed to be empowered to create a uniform wildlife regulations for all wildlife in the state of Texas. We made it a felony for you to poach. And I think that really, really slowed it down.
It's been said that everybody turns to Hugo when in a pinch. And when the people of Corpus Christi needed to secure the name Texas State Aquarium before even having a building, that's exactly who they went to.
And they came to me and said, we need to secure the name Texas State Aquarium. And of course, me, like my colleagues, the first question I asked, but we haven't even built it, and you already want the naming rights. He said, yes, we want to secure the naming rights because that'll help us in our fundraising campaign. And they had ties to the Bush family, and they got him to serve as honorary chairman for this effort. And so I opted to carry the legislation, and I brought the bill out. And as chairman of calendars, I had one question asked about it. I said, I need this, whatnot, and we passed it out of there unanimously, and then it passed out of the Senate, and we got the name.
Berlanga's involvement in coastal wildlife sustainability goes beyond naming conventions. He helped create the Redfish Conservation Act, a blessing in disguise for Texas fishermen. This one struck close to home.
Our bays were just absolutely being devastated from all the over-harvesting of fish. And so the Gulf Coast Conservation saw that there was some need to put limits. A couple of things. Number one, completely outlaw the use of gill netting in the bay waters. And number two, to put a limit on the number of redfish that you could catch. Stan Sleater and I co-authored that bill, House Bill 1000. I was the only Gulf Coast state rep that not only carried the legislation, but voted for it. Nobody else would touch it. We have the bill set up on the floor, and so we told the speaker then, we'll get to it after lunch. And we walk out of the Capitol, and there is this huge demonstration going on. And they're picketing and everything. I mean, it is, a sea of people. And we walk out, and Stan said, oh my God, what's going on? And I looked over there to the right. I said, they're picketing us. They're demonstrating against us. And he said, oh my God. And so I looked, and I see my aunt and my nephews in the crowd. And I'm going like, oh my God. My aunt comes over to me, gives me a big hug, and she said, I'm sorry. She said, but I've got to support my commercial fishermen that provide us fish for the fish market. They had Seven Seas Fish Market, which was an institution in Corpus Christi. And my uncle was convinced that I was going to put him out of business. And he would tell me when he would see me, I love you, but man, you're killing my business. I said, yeah, the price may go up some, but you're not going to be out of business. In fact, I think your business is going to expand. And you know what? That's exactly what happened.
If Berlanga were to choose the most significant legislation involving conservation, it would be the Coastal Zone Management Act.
Land Commissioner Gary Morrow came to me and said, we need to create what became known as the Coastal Management Program and designate these 14 counties. The reason it was significant is because in order for us to receive any kind of money for any damages that would ever occur to the Texas coast, if you're not part of that federal program, you're not entitled to anything. I went to Governor Bush and asked him to support it, and he would not. And I had such a great relationship with Governor Bush, and he finally conceded for us to do it. So, roll forward, we have the Deepwater Horizon accident off the coast of Louisiana. Texas took some damage. So did all the other Gulf states. It allowed us, the state of Texas, to recover from that spill. And we have recovered. Texas is still getting money.
In fact, the Coastal Zone Management Act that Berlanga helped pass gives Texas $2.2 million annually to conserve and improve its coast.
Right after I'd met Laura, and her family were big on the outdoors and did a lot of camping. Every time there was a 3-day weekend of any sort, they would head to the Garner State Park area. So I started going with them. We were dating, we would go to Garner State Park, and we would always camp out. And then little by little, we graduated. Omar got introduced to the outdoors at a very, very young age because he was just a baby at the time. And so we would be in Garner State Park and doing the outdoor camping like most families, traditional families would do. But it was a lot of fun. Those were memories you never forget. We endured rainstorms and everything in the middle of the night, camping out and all that. And it was, we can laugh about it now, but it was memories that you don't ever forget. Some of those things that you did.
Hugo and his wife Laura now spend many of their days at their own private getaway, Mustang Ranch. The ranch has become a wildlife refuge and hunting grounds for family and visitors who are treated like family.
Our ranch, we've always opened it up, whether it's for youth, for hunting, whether it's for camping purposes and for family. And even though we have a commercial hunting operation here, We treat our guests like family, and I think that's what they really enjoy when they come here. You're not just a number or someone who's participating, but we make you try to feel at home and feel like this is your second home away from home, and to get to enjoy not only the outdoors, but the hunting experience that goes with it.
He would put on a bird hunt every year. It would be the speaker's bird hunt. And I tell you what, he'd have hundreds of people show up at that thing, and I mean, it was a deal where just like a picnic. You had food, you had beverages, and you had everything, and everybody got a chance to hunt. They wanted to hunt, and it was just a get acquainted type thing. And of course, particularly every elected official from South Texas would be invited, and most of them were always there. And that's why I say I need more people from this area down here than I do up in North Texas.
I ended up on Ways and Means, and I also ended up on Natural Resources Committee, which was tailor-made for my district because I represented the Port of Corpus Christi and the waterways. And that's where I met Harvey Weil, because Harvey Weil was general counsel for the port. Harvey reached out to me as a result of me being on that committee, and then of course me representing the port. So we developed this relationship. The start of every session, I'd seek out Harvey, or Harvey would seek me out, and we would talk about any changes on any legislation for the benefit of the port that I could help him with. He was incredible to work with, extremely knowledgeable on navigation districts and waterways. Harvey was just an incredible individual, always real dapper, the way he dressed. And of course I was fascinated because he had a crew cut. He wore these little spectacle glasses. I mean, this guy was incredible partner of the law firm, but he always made you feel like you were the most important person when he talked to you. And that's what I remember about Harvey and working with him all those years. And I learned a lot about the waterways and legislation. And interesting enough, now I represent the Port of Corpus Christi. I couldn't ask for a bigger award than the Harvey Weil Conservation Award. I mean, it's something that I will always treasure, and it has a lot of meaning because I know what it represents. I'm just proud and humbled by receiving this incredible award, and also because I knew Harvey, and I knew how much he loved his fishing and all the conservation efforts that he did, and what he represented in terms of water. You stop and think about it, and where we're at today, Harvey was way ahead of his time.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the 2023 Rotary Club of Corpus Christi Harvey Weil Sportsman Conservationist of the Year Award, Hugo Berlanga, protector of Texas, its wildlife, and its people.